Secretary of State Tillerson huddled with world leaders at the G7 summit in Italy for an urgent meeting on Syria. Italy's foreign minister says they all couldn't agree on whether Russia deserves new sanctions for its support of Syria's government. Amy Kellogg is in Italy live with details. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Shannon. Well, it was Britain's Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson who was really pushing for those sanctions. Many of the Europeans were less enthusiastic about that. I think their sense is that possibly these tools are not always the most effective. There was a lot of talk here, although the message will be very, very direct to President Putin. There was talk of switching from a punitive tone to one of actually pushing to bring Russia into the fold, trying to show Russia that in fact, we understand that it can be a very critical player in trying to bring about a solution ultimately to Syria. Also that Russia's doing itself great damage by aligning itself with a dictator, someone who uses chemical weapons on his own people, and someone who, frankly, is not holding up its end of enforcing the chemical weapons deal.
Stockpiles and continued use demonstrate that Russia has failed in its responsibility to deliver on its 2013 commitment. It is unclear whether Russia failed to take this obligation seriously or Russia has been incompetent. But this distinction doesn't much matter to the dead.
One thing that the G7 foreign ministers were really in lockstep about here was the fact that that horrific chemical weapon attack in Syria last week, followed by the U.S. decision to launch missile strikes several days later, has really created a window of opportunity to ratchet up the pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin and try to come up with some sort of solution to the situation in Syria. And for that reason, the Italian Foreign Minister, Angelino Alfano, who's the host of this G7 summit, really scrambled in the 11th hour to bring a group of like-minded, as they're being called, countries from the Middle East, Arab countries primarily, and Turkey, to try to really make the consensus much greater on what to do about Syria. But it's important to point out that an overall strategy remains somewhat elusive here, but the Europeans, generally speaking, although they want a hard line on Russia, they want not to back Russia into a corner in order to mitigate any chances of having a working relationship down the line, Shannon.
All right, Amy Kellogg live from Italy. Thank you.